Hey y'all, what's going on?
What's poppin'?
At least you can wish me luck.
Guys, when I say that song hit harder than it ever hit before, Charlie
Ever.
Wilson needs
Oh,
a Grammy just for at least you can wish me luck.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what he says yet, but I'm gonna learn it because
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
about
think by the end of the season, we'll know the full song.
to.
We just wanted to hop on and talk about BMF. We will be covering it all season. Starz has given us screeners. We know we are huge fans of the show, and they have taken a liking to that because we have made it clear that we want in on this show and all of the power shows. So we're here and we can't believe that we're here to talk about this. We got to see the episode early. Of course, we did not want to spoil it for anyone, and we legally cannot. So you are getting this hopefully after you watched it, if you are watching this video right now. And what a freaking premiere. I just want to know, Aaron, out of 10, what do you give the premiere?
I would say a good 9.5.
Right, 9.5 for me
9.5,
too.
yeah.
I just I guess because it's based on a true story, that's why they have to split the brothers up. I'm just not a fan
Mhm.
of Meech and Terry being split up, but that's what happened in real life. So we have to follow that some way. And I think that a lot of the things that have been set up on this episode is how we're going to see how these brothers are going to
Right.
work with each other while also running Detroit and Atlanta very differently, because we have one who is kind of a hothead but doesn't really know what he's doing, and he has all these kids and all these love connections and all these things happening, while the other one, he's a hothead but he's more methodical and he sees the bigger picture and he literally wants to take over the whole, you know, honestly, the US
Honestly, the
continental
world.
states.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
world.
say.
He thinks that I-95 can go to Rome at this point, as you see in the end where he talks
No.
to Terry on the phone. But yeah, I think it's set up a lot that we're going to see play out. A lot of people are saying that, it doesn't hit as good as the power shows because you know what happens. They're, both alive and one is out of jail, one is in jail. There's actually some news about the original real Big Meech. I think that he's going to be eligible to come out of jail before September of 2025. So that's great news because he's been serving time for a very long time. And also, he is going to be able to enjoy the success of his life story being put on Starz and everything that 50 Cent has given his family, as um,
I
50 Cent.
also I
Go
also
ahead.
believe with this show though,
Mm-hmm.
for the people who are kind of doubting it and making those accusations, like saying, "Oh, we already know what's going to happen."
Right.
You don't quite know all the characters and all the people involved in this story.
Right.
So now you're getting to know different people every season. Sometimes we see some of our favorite celebrities portraying these people. So I
Right.
think it's interesting to see what happens with them because we know about Meech, we know about Terry, but we don't really know about all the people involved in everything. So we're still
Yeah.
figuring that out episode by episode.
And they have creative control to where there are some things that did happen and there are some things that didn't happen. There are
Right.
some people that turned out the way that they did, and some people that didn't turn out this specific way. We have people in real life, since this is based on real life, but they have the creative control to add and subtract things and make a really good story. Even if they just did what actually really happened, it would still make a great story to watch unfold, because these are some of the most powerful drug dealers that the US has ever seen. If you grew up in the South, specifically Atlanta and Florida, you have heard of BMF, or even if you're just a fan of Rick Ross, you heard of
Yeah.
BMF. So for this to be a flagship show that is helping Starz, you know, bring in money, because that's what I watch Starz for, is BMF in the Power Universe and P Valley whenever that decides to come back. So they need this show, which, by the way, before we get into our little review, BMF has just been renewed for season 4. And this comes literally the day before season 3 premieres. So there's going to be a lot to cover, a lot to look forward to. And we hope that you guys will be tuning in. And if y'all know us from Bravo We're Black, you know that we talk about this show a lot on the main podcast. So this is going to be where we go a little bit more in depth, even though this isn't going to be like an hour long. We'll mention it on the main podcast, but like this is where we're going to give our like true thoughts and a little bit more in depth.
Right.
So start us off. Like we get introduced, we pick back up where the season
Yes.
ended. Terry has been shot at, and Meech is in Atlanta.
And Meech is in Atlanta. So we start the episode off with the future versions of both Terry and Meech, and they're locked up right now. And Meech is talking about how he's going to take a plea deal. And then Terry reveals that he's actually going to go to trial with his case. Now, Meech is very upset with this because he wants Terry to take the plea deal so both him and Terry have a chance of getting out, serving a fair amount of time and getting out and doing what they need to do. They have family. Their mom is still here. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to make things happen and be with their family again. So then it cuts from that and we're back in the past. So we find out that Markeisha has been shot at and now she's in the hospital. And the family goes over to the hospital to show support to see what's happening. They also think that Terry possibly got shot. So, Lucille is worked up and upset and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Even the sister is crying. Everybody's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and Terry ends up being fine, but Markeisha is literally in
Mhm.
critical condition. The family shows up, like Aaron said, and I just thought that it was so funny because this episode, it's not funny that she got shot, sorry. But this episode, Lucille is just not with the ship because she finds out that Markeisha is a mother who is married. Obviously, we know that she's married to Boom,
Right.
who's one of the biggest around. I think he's locked up, and they believe that he is the one who put the hit out on them to get hurt. And Lucille finds out, and she is like, "Oh, she's married, like father, like son," because that we left off with Charles being a little two pump chump, and he's very, very much going to pay for it later on in this episode because Lucille is standing on business.
Big business. And we also see that Lawanda isn't a fan of this at all either because she is being cheated on left and right. And at this point, he's parading her around
Yeah,
like
it
proudly.
absolutely is insane to watch, Lawanda have to kind of eat that because she
Mhm.
is pregnant with Terry's baby at the time. So, anyways, we get to see what Meech is up to. He meets Greenie, who is played by Neo. What did you think of Neo's take on Greenie?
It's interesting. I mean, to me, it's just Neo.
Neo with a wig.
Yeah, Neo with a wig. But I mean, I'm here for it because we have to see more of him. Like we didn't really see enough of him to see
Well,
him
I
play
kind of
Jimbo.
already get like what character he's trying to play.
Yeah.
He is the guy with all the connection and he's kind of like slimy. And he basically tells Meech, yo, it's like 15K to get in to the game in Atlanta. And he like runs things and he knows people or whatever. They meet at Magic City, Atlanta, which is still a hot spot to this day. This is back in 1990. And so that should tell you how good of a strip club this is. Anyways, so he takes them to the Platinum Palace instead, where they meet 2 Chainz' character. His character is called Stax. And Stax used to be a friend of Ty, who was the guy that unfortunately got killed in last season when Young Miami was playing a character, and y'all were like, "Meech, where is my husband?" And that was hilarious. I actually want more of Young Miami. I hope that she reprises her role because she was just so earnest about it.
After they gave her all that shit, I don't think she's gonna do
She won't, but she just well, we'll never know. But anyways, the point is 2 Chainz character gets introduced. Now, what did you think about Stacks?
I like him. I feel like he stands on business, and I also feel like we're gonna have to keep an eye out on him. I feel like something's gonna happen.
I feel like he flip flops like a lot already
Hmm.
because when they met him at the club, he kind of seemed, like with it and down. to work with Meech. But then when they get back to the house, Meech tells him, "Hey, I'm a friend of Ty," and Ty basically like left me in charge of this shit. He stacks to JK 2 Chainz. He's like not with the shit at all. He gets mad.
Hmm.
But Meech gets it popping either way. 2 Chainz is not with it at first, but then he falls in line eventually. We then meet Remi. Tell us about Remi of the, I think he's kind of head of the, he's kind of like a Robin Hood of this like Atlanta um,
Yeah,
project.
he's the Robin Hood of the Atlanta project that Meech is trying to take over, and he feels like people are on his turf and doing the most. He does not like that at all.
Techwood, I think it's called, right?
Techwood.
Mm-hmm.
And Meech spots him across the room, and he's chilling with Claude. Claude is his right hand man, and they do not like them. So they go up to him, they punch him right in his face. Shit gets popping, and it gets hot. They leave the club, but Remy Ransom he's still holding on to this in the back of his head. So he reacts a little bit later in the episode, which we'll explain. But things go real south with them.
Mm-hmm. And we see Remy kind of like in his environment where he is giving the kids uh distributing to the kids
Yeah,
basically, but at the same time it seems like he is just trying to make sure that like they eat,
they eat
which
and they
is,
have something,
it's
which
a
is
sad like
different.
reality. Yeah.
I think I want to see more of that because, like I said, this is the first episode, but they
Mm-hmm.
are met by the Red Dogs.
Mm.
Now, the Red Dogs' mission is to run every drug dealer off the street. So by any
Especially
means,
because of
yeah,
the time that we're in. At that time, the Olympics were coming to Atlanta, so they wanted Atlanta to look, you
as
know,
pristine as possible.
right.
But I mean, I was kind of like, I don't
Well,
think that's
that's
gonna
kind of like
happen.
what they do, right? That's actually
Yeah,
kind of like our first signs of, not even our first signs, because they talked about this earlier in the series of gentrification, basically, like they're tearing down people's homes and where they live in order to move in more like city like things or host things and shit like that. So people are just upset
yeah.
about it. But yeah, the Red Dogs basically have all authority to just like beat you up for no reason if they have any suspicions of. They don't even have to have any suspicions. They can
Mm.
just look at you and be like, "Yeah, we can beat him up."
And I'm not too familiar with his character, but I'm very neutral towards him. Like especially when I seen the kids being involved, I'm like maybe there's more to the story and there's more to him than we've seen so far. So I'm kind of just checking him out and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we fast forward to the
Your
house.
favorite,
Y'all see it in my background. Charles and Lucille are on the odds right now. Lucille does not have that hair anymore. Lucille has a bob mullet. So she's
and that means
definitely
like she's standing
she's
on
on
big
double
business,
business, not even regular business. This is executive business. This is like head manager of Wendy's business. So
right?
she tells him she wished that she felt as safe as she used to in his arms, but she can't get over the fact that he messed around and cheated on her. So right now she wants
Mm-hmm.
to go forward with the divorce, and I really think that she is going to go forward with it.
You think so? Do you think that she's going to still date Snoop Dogg or nah?
No, I
You
don't
think that
think
she's
so.
gonna? Are we gonna see a new love interest for Lucille though?
I feel like we will.
And do you think that Lucille and Charles will end up getting back together at any point, or is she done with him like for real, for real?
I think what's going to happen, if anything, she's going to find another love interest, and he's going to treat her much better. And Charles is probably going to find somebody too, if not the same lady that he cheated on her with.
Oh,
So
that would piss me
that's
off
that's
so bad.
that's the thing. So
Well, okay, so Lucille basically tells him that she wants him out. He's like, I'm not getting out because this is still my house and I'm also broke. He's a broke bitch. And I'm sick of it. So, anyways, Terry apologized. Well, okay, so after this whole shooting thing, Terry basically wants to be the one to take out Saint. Um, and he makes that very clear to his homeboys and the people at the record store, you know, the people that he hung out with. And this gets back to Meech. And Meech is like, Terry absolutely cannot be the one who kills Saint because he's just not ready yet. He's not built for it. Which I also feel like Terry shouldn't take out Saint because Terry is at the top of the food chain. So when you're at the
Right.
top of the food chain, you should have people below you. And that's literally how the streets work. Like you have people below you willing to just take out whoever you want at your say so because you're the one who is uh calling the shots really and making sure everyone is still eating.
And he's too far up Marquisha's ass anyway.
Too in love.
Too in love right now. That man loves her with all his chest.
Yeah. And then so we get back to the detective Bryant and detective Veronica. They are both I think they're both like suspended or something like that because of what happened with his son last season. And so she gets a new partner named Detective Kobe, and this seems like she's like a nepo baby. I wonder how she's going to come in and be like relevant in the series later on because I'm like, what's the
Yeah.
point of her character? But she's really pretty. We're back to Atlanta and we see what's up with Meech, and Meech makes it very clear that he's in competition with not only the Atlanta people who are already there, but also the people from Miami. Because you got to remember, like they said at the end of the episode, the interstate connects us all, and Miami has a very uh, especially during that time, Miami has a very big presence
Yeah.
for drugs at that time. But we see him in like a studio, and I think that is going to lead to something later on down the line because I think I remember hearing something about BMF in real life having a music label. So we might see that on the show, and obviously Charles had that interest in music. Meech has that interest in music, and this might be like the start of that. So he sees an artist that's there, he's rapping, and he's telling him basically, "Why are you on the street? You're talented, and you can pretty much go far." And he's like, "I own a record store back in Detroit." And the guy is like, "Yeah, well, maybe one day you'll sell my record." And he's like, "Well, when I do, you can't be on the street." So I really think that they show that on
Mm.
purpose to show us that he of obviously is deeply in the streets, but he also has a passion, which is music. And we get to my favorite like scene of the whole show. We get back to Lucille. Lucille is sick of Wendy's.
She's had enough. And she's had enough for her church too. She's tired. Cause she's like, they know all my damn business. And I felt that. Because when you go to a local church, when you find your church, they absolutely do.
Yeah,
They
it's
know
even happening
all
on
your
freaking
business.
Abbott Elementary. Like
Hmm.
the church is very nosy and a lot is happening.
I know
So
that from firsthand experience.
it's the truth. Just ask anyone who's
Mm.
involved in it. It's not even just a black church, it's just a church in general. People are very
Because they talk.
judgmental.
They do
They
talk.
talk, they talk, they talk. But anyways, Rolly brings flowers, which I loved, and he
Mm.
kind of gives Lucille this hug. And Charles is like, "Boy, if you don't get the fuck out of my house."
Yeah, I don't think. Do you think that Rolly's intent was to like
No, I
sweeten
think that
Lucille
he
up?
sees her as like a
Yeah,
motherly figure, but Charles is just got sunned by Lucille, so he's butthurt by it.
yeah. So he's paranoid too. He's like, I can't take no chances.
But imagine that though. Imagine that. What about they wrote in because Lala is like what? She's like 40 playing a 26-year-old. So what if they put Rolly as Lucille's love interest? I would like to see it. I'm
Mm,
just saying. It's not impossible.
I kind of think that I want Two Chain's character. I want Stacks. If anything,
You want him
Stack.
to fly to okay, so you want the season to progress and you want the family to move down to
Hmm.
Georgia and then she can have a
Like our little
romance with
visit. Yeah,
Stax
yeah, a
or
little
visit a
visit.
little rendezvous in Atlanta. That's messy as hell and I'm definitely here for it. So the detectives go to I keep saying Lala, but Markeisha. They go to Markeisha and basically ask her, interrogate her, like who shot you, like Biggie Smalls and Tupac. And she's like, "Well, bitch, you're the one who told my business, and you're the reason why I'm in here. So you figure
It's
it out."
It's true though, like that part I didn't understand. And that's how those detectives are. Like they fuck you up so bad. And then they're
Yeah.
like, so tell me information.
Or you're gonna die. Like,
Yeah.
excuse me?
Like she's fighting for her life. Why are you in here trying to interrogate her?
And on top of that, they're just like, is it worth it? Is the dick that good, girl? Like the new detective is out of hand,
That
first of
was a
all. Like,
great
who the
question
fuck are
though.
you? But she
I
was
kind of
just so
like her
straightforward
approach.
with it.
I like her approach. Like this is BMF. You know, the
Hmm.
other one, she kind of tiptoes around it, but she's like, I want to know. Like, no,
And Marquisha was very fair about it. And she was like, yeah, it actually is
it
that good.
is.
And she stood on it. She didn't say anything after that. She was like, yeah, she's gonna die behind him. And that was insane because she also brought up like the fact that she has kids. So I'm like, girl, like,
I think
please.
also she's seeing Terry step up in a way that he hasn't stepped up in the past. I think she
Hmm.
sees that he's actually serious and trying to provide a lifestyle, you know. And I don't know,
Okay.
she likes the dangerous lifestyle, as we can see, because look at her ex.
Some of us do. Some of us do. Hmm. Anyways, so Meech basically ordered his Meech ordered his homeboys from back home to kill Saint. They end up killing Saint. And back in Atlanta, like a shootout commenced when Meech is supposed to meet up with what's his name? The guy he was supposed to meet up with one of the new dudes and like do business with him. And the guy ends up
Yeah,
getting shot at.
I know specifically who you're talking about. I just don't. I'll remember his name.
Yeah, so he basically gets shot at, and there's this is the only reason I'm bringing it up is because obviously this sets off some things. And there's like a really cool shot where they're in like Meech goes, he brings the guy into the car, and the bag of money is still there. And the bag of money has to be retrieved while they're literally like shooting up the car. So the car is like put in reverse, and Meech literally has to pick up the bag and get the freaking money at the same time.
I thought that was crazy though because I thought at least the driver was gonna get hit.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that was just the one part I was like, it's kind of unrealistic, but it was cool because a lot of the most in
I
action movies
mean
when they
those
do like those crazy stunts, I'm like, this is not realistic, but at the same time he's alive in real life,
those
so
lowriders and Cadillacs are strong though. Those are the
right.
back in the day ones. So you do kind of stand a chance. Now that many
Hmm.
bullets they were going, they were a little OD with that. Cause I'm like
Yeah,
machine guns, maybe
yeah,
tamp it down a little bit. And then they recharge. They had the audacity to recharge. Like, no,
yeah, it's
too
literally insane.
much.
But then, okay, so we're about to go towards like the kind of the end of the episode almost, but not really. um so Meech basically makes it clear that the strip club is where he really wants to like work out of, like
Same.
where he wants to do his business. No, same, absolutely. And not only that, he makes it clear that his like alliances don't lie with necessarily anyone. Because remember, you got to remember, like Monique's character is not there anymore. The guy Ty is not there anymore. So he doesn't really have anyone that he can like trust like that, even though he's building a new family there. But he doesn't have his brother there. So that's his real family back at home, and he's new there. So he's making it clear that he's willing to work with any and everyone. Um, and then we see that Detective Bryant has to prep his son basically for juvie. He tells him to basically just toughen up because we know that he is kind of not a nerd, but he's not ready to go to juvie. He's drawing in
Do
his
you
comic book.
feel bad for the son?
Absolutely. He's not like, I don't want him to go to jail. That was just, I don't like that. I don't like that storyline at all, but
Hmm.
we are going to get introduced to Cynthia through him. So I think that that is the
Yeah,
only reason why I'm like sticking in there for it. But anyway, so Terry brings Marquisha home, and Wanda is pissed because obviously that's literally her man.
you're coming up in her house while they're about to eat steak and mashed potatoes, and you're like
Right.
bringing this girl. that you don't
Yeah,
have a child with in this
exactly.
house. And you're like, oh, I need protection for her.
It was like the equivalent of the original Power, where Ghost was like, you like he told Tasha basically like, listen, I just lost the love of my life. Like, excuse me, we're having a child and you're bringing like a bitch that's like 10 years older than me and 10 years older than you and to your parents' house. Anyways, so Lucille
That's
tells
crazy.
the sister to go take Marquisha upstairs. And Terry, for some reason, even though his his op got taken out and he is able to bring Marquisha home and be in love and all that, he is like, oh, I'm leaving or whatever. So we get to the end of the episode. You guys, we're going to finish this very soon because we don't want these things to be long. And Lucille is just like, okay, Terry is moving and Charles can go to the room.
Yeah.
And that's
Congrats
pretty
on the
much,
new room.
congrats on the new room. And then the detectives find Saint's body, and Veronica, she takes like 2 bricks off of his body. And then Meech realizes that the interstate can take them wherever they want. So he's basically telling Terry the plan, like, we can take over the world. And Terry's like, okay, whatever. And then the last thing that we see is basically they go
Remy
to the club,
Ransom.
and then Remy takes them.
Remy Ransom
Remy
standing
comes
on
through
business.
and
And
lights
he's
them
like,
up.
listen, I don't want to have to put y'all in a body bag, but
Exactly. He
okay.
makes it known that he's not to be played with. And that's
Yeah.
the end of the episode.
And I
So
kind of do believe that he's not.
yeah.
I kind of do believe he's going to show us some cards that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. I can't wait. Let us know if you like season 3, episode 1. Let us know your thoughts. Did you think that this was a good like introduction to the season? Do you see how everything will play out? Do you have any predictions? And let us know out of 10 what you rate it. We will be back next week for the next episode right here on YouTube. So thank you for listening. And also listen to our podcast, Bravo, We're Black. We release twice a week, and that's pretty much it. If you want more, we have a Patreon too. So click the link below and subscribe.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.